The River Tweed flows like a quiet vow, its dark waters carving a line between Scotland and England, between the weight of duty and the pull of desire. Coldstream Bridge, ancient and unyielding, spans its breadth. Its weathered stones smoothed by centuries of footsteps, soldiers marching to war, merchants hauling wares, lovers fleeing the chains of family and fate. Beneath its northern arch, where the river murmurs secrets to the night, squats the old toll house, its grey stone walls and moss-blackened slate bearing witness to more joys and sorrows than any cathedral. Its crooked chimney, curling smoke into the frosted air, has seen hearts bound and broken, vows whispered and kept, in defiance of a world that would tear them apart. In the village of Coldstream, the toll house is more than a building, it is a legend. Its ledger a tapestry of names scrawled by those who dared to choose love over law. The keeper of its stories is Maggie McAndrews, granddaughter of old Fergus, who tended the toll house in its final days as a haven for runaway lovers. Maggie, with her silver braid and eyes sharp as a hawk's, tells the tale by her fireside, her voice weaving the past into the present. "The Tweed don't judge," she says, her hands folded over a worn shawl. "It carries love as surely as it carries water." Her words drift back to the winter of 1856, when the snow fell thick and the toll house stood as a beacon for two souls racing against time. The year was a harsh one, with frost gripping the fields of Northumberland and the winds howling like mourners across the borderland. England and Scotland, though united under one crown, were worlds apart in custom and creed, and nowhere was this clearer than in matters of the heart. South of the Tweed, marriage was a contract, bound by bands and clergy, subject to the whims of fathers and fortunes. North of it, in Scotland, love needed only two voices, two witnesses, and a moment of courage to become law. James Carter was a blacksmith's son from Alnwick 22, with hands calloused from the forge and a heart that burned brighter than the coals he tended. He was broad-shouldered, with hair the colour of autumn wheat and a quiet strength that belied his youth. His life was mapped out by his father: a trade, a modest house, a wife chosen for practicality. But James dreamed beyond the anvil, his thoughts consumed by Charlotte Langley, the daughter of a wealthy wool merchant whose manor overlooked the town. Charlotte, 19, was a vision of contrasts. Her auburn curls framed a face both gentle and fierce, her green eyes holding a spark that no amount of propriety could dim. Raised in silk and schooled in etiquette, she was her father's pride, destined for a match that would secure his wealth and status. But Charlotte's heart was her own, and it had chosen James the moment they met at Alnwick's harvest fair. He'd offered her a carved wooden flower, a shy gesture from a boy who worked with iron, and her laughter had sealed their bond. Their love grew in secret, stolen moments by the river elm, notes tucked into the hollow of a willow. But secrets, like sparks, cannot be contained. Charlotte's father, Silas Langley, learned of their meetings and roared his fury. A blacksmith's whelp, he bellowed, his face purple with rage. "You'll marry Lord Carver's son, or you'll have no home." Silas, a man who measured love in pounds and acres, locked Charlotte in her chamber, swearing to break her spirit. James, undaunted, sent a message through a sympathetic maid: "Meet me at dusk. We'll ride for Coldstream." Charlotte, her courage outweighing her fear, slipped from her window on a moonless night, her cloak concealing a single dress and the wooden flower James had given her. They met at the edge of Alnwick, where James waited with a sturdy horse named Rowan, borrowed from a friend who knew the cost of love. The snow was already falling, soft, but relentless as they rode north. The lights of pursuit flickering behind them, Silas's carriage, driven by hired men, determined to drag Charlotte back. The road to Coldstream was treacherous, the snow piling high, the wind biting through their clothes. James held the reins, his voice steady as he spoke of the life they'd build. A small forge, a garden for Charlotte, a home filled with laughter. Charlotte clung to him, her cheek against his back, the wooden flower pressed against her heart. "No matter what comes," she whispered, "I choose you." They reached Coldstream Bridge as midnight told, the Tweed a dark mirror beneath the snow-heavy sky. The toll house glowed faintly, its single lantern a beacon in the storm. James helped Charlotte dismount, her legs trembling from cold and exhaustion, and they stumbled to the door, Rowan snorting steam into the air. The lights of pursuit were closer now, a faint glow on the horizon, but the bridge had bought them time. Old Fergus McAndrews, the toll-keeper, opened the door, his face weathered as the stones of the bridge. His eyes, sharp despite his 60 years, took in the couple's mud-streaked clothes and clasped hands. "Another pair, eh?" he said, his voice gruff but not unkind. "Come in, afore the cold takes the—" The tow house was a haven of warmth, its air thick with the scent of coal and peat. The walls papered with the faded names of couples who had stood where James and Charlotte now did. Fergus roused the farmhands, Tam and Will, from their slumber by the hearth, their faces bleary but curious. The law was simple. Before witnesses, the couple need only declare their intent, and the marriage was binding. No banns, no clergy, no permission required, just truth, spoken plainly. Fergus placed their hands together, his own gnarled fingers steady. "Speak the words, if your hearts be true." James looked into Charlotte's eyes, his voice unwavering despite the ache in his chest. "I, James Carter, take thee, Charlotte Langley, as my wife, to love and cherish in all times and trials, till death do us part." Charlotte's voice trembled, not with doubt but with the weight of her choice. "I, Charlotte Langley, take thee, James Carter, as my husband, to stand by thy side in joy and sorrow, forever and always." The words hung in the air, simple yet eternal, as the snow hissed against the window. Tam and Will nodded, their signatures scratched into Fergus's ledger alongside the couple's. Fergus dipped his quill and added their names, James Carter and Charlotte Langley. January 17th, 1856, the ink a seal on their defiance. He handed them a scrap of paper, their marriage recorded, and said, "Go now, and live the life you've chosen." They stepped into the night, hand in hand, the toll house door closing behind them. The lights of pursuit were gone, lost in the snowdrifts, and the world felt impossibly still. James lifted Charlotte onto Rowan, and they rode south, not to Alnwick, but to a new life, one they would carve together. But the world was changing. Later that year, Parliament passed the Marriage Scotland Act, requiring 3 weeks' residence for couples seeking to marry north of the border. Coldstream's days as a sanctuary for runaway lovers ended, the toll house falling silent, its ledger closed. The bridge remained, as did the Tweed, but the magic of those fleeting unions faded into memory. Yet the river remembers. In Coldstream, the story of James and Charlotte lives on, told by Maggie McAndrews to those who listen. She speaks of other couples too, their names etched into the toll house walls. But James and Charlotte's tale is her favorite. They outran the world, she says, her eyes distant, and love like that don't fade. By the 19th century, the legend had grown. Travellers along the Tweed claimed to hear hooves on foggy nights, a ghostly echo of a horse racing toward the bridge. Villagers swore they saw two figures, hand in hand, standing by the toll house, their voices whispering vows that carried on the wind. One winter, a young poet named Clara, visiting Coldstream in 1870, spent a night by the bridge, her notebook open to capture the river's secrets. At midnight, she heard it, the clatter of hooves, faint but unmistakable, followed by a woman's voice, soft and sure. Forever and always. Clara wrote of it, her verses published in a local paper, cementing the tollhouse's place in border law. In 1905, a boy named Jamie, Maggie's nephew, found a carved wooden flower half buried by the riverbank, its petals worn but intact. Maggie clutched it, tears in her eyes, and said it was Charlotte's, left as a sign that their love endured. She kept it by her hearth, a relic of the tollhouse's final days. Today, Coldstream Bridge stretches across the Tweed, its stones as resolute as ever. The tollhouse stands, weathered but proud, a museum to the lovers who once sought its shelter. The river flows beneath, its waters carrying the echoes of countless vows. On quiet nights, when the moon is high and frost glitters on the bridge, the sound of hooves can still be heard, a fleeting reminder of those who ran for love. Maggie is gone, but her stories live in Coldstream's children who tell of James and Charlotte with a mix of awe and pride. So, if you walk the banks of the Tweed and hear the whisper of vows or the clatter of a horse that never arrives, pause and listen. You may bear witness to the love that outran the world, bound forever by the river that carried it. Many thanks for treading this tale's dark path. If its chill gripped you, follow, subscribe, and comment below.